we're back with another video. Now today we're gonna be reacting to CNN, Kaitlan Collins humiliated by Trump and El Salvador president after asking bizarre question.
So last night he used him. Honestly, nothing better than
Donald Trump. Like, man, listen, all you people that be watching the news that be wanting to get horny, stop it. Like, why is that popping up on my page? Like, why is that? It's not connected to mine in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. They show you, and you know what's funny? I feel like advertisements have went to a whole nother, I'm talking about random shit, but I don't care. Advertisements have went to a whole nother different direction on everything. I'm watching like news videos and they're showing me pills. You know what I'm saying? Like our dating apps. Like, it's like, dude, like, I wonder if they are trying to say that people who watch the news are lonely. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I ain't watched the news this much until I came here, or until Trump got elected. But other than that, like, I haven't watched the news this much ever. So, I mean, let's get it. I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's keep going. Boom.
Donald Trump met with the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, at the Oval Office today, where they discussed deportation, terrorism, and tariffs that affect both nations.
No matter how you personally feel about the president of El Salvador, he did a justice for his nation, though. But he did a justice for his nation. He done locked up half the country. But at the same time, though, like, the whole country is better. Like, women are saying, hey, like, it's gotten so much better. He's locked up all those gang members. That's what we need. You know what I'm saying? We need that in every country. We need somebody who's like, look, I'm gonna take care of my country. I'm gonna take care of my country. I know we think Donald Trump is that. I don't think he's that. I don't know. But the El Salvadorian president is doing a really good job. I don't care what nobody says. He is. I just wouldn't want to go to that prison. So I think for the next 3 years, I think a lot of us should avoid talking shit about Trump. Just let him do what he do. You know. Well, actually, we can do whatever we want because we have the freedom of speech. Anyways.
But instead of the leaders getting into a tussle, which is often the case at these Oval Office meetings, President Trump's target was none other than CNN reporter Kaitlan Collins, who was ripped to shreds by Trump and his administration after asking a very bizarre question about the deportation of an alleged terrorist to El Salvador.
Turn the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork that needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him.
Wait, but a Supreme Court decision ruled unanimously that, like, he was an innocent. He was here legally. I'm confused. I think that this president is he's showing how. Look, think about it. Technically, he's the executive branch. What really can enforce the law? Like, if the judge says, hey, you know, I want this done, how can it be enforced? This is scary times, y'all. It's really scary times. The executive branch enforces the damn law. The judicial branch the legislative branch creates the laws. The executive branch enforces the law, and then the judicial branch carries out the law. It's crazy.
We would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. If you just also respond to that question, because, you know, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanted, because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was...
Wow, they spun that really good. No. You made a mistake. You sent somebody to El Salvador. They ain't supposed to be over in El Salvador. And now you're holding tight because you don't want people to be looking at you like that was a crazy thing to do. Because if you're sending people over there who are legally, have the legal capacity to be here, then there's a problem with that. And the public would look at that really, really crazy. But to spin it, oh, no, this is El Salvadorian citizen. They can make the decision on that. That's crazy. They didn't destroy here.
Was raised with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
And after the Trump...
But did he do any of that stuff when he was here? That's the question, right? Let's keep going. If he didn't do any of that stuff here, you can't prove that he did any of that stuff, then what are you talking about? Like, you're painting him out that way because you don't want to be embarrassed if you really actually made a mistake. Now, if he did do any of those things, and he, then fine. I'm for him being sent out of here. But if you made a mistake, y'all got to admit you made a mistake before the public starts looking at it like, oh, you can send people to prisons? Let's keep going.
Trump administration was done roasting
American
her.
citizens to
The
prison.
president of El Salvador piled on, saying the question was preposterous.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, also not suggesting that I smuggle terrorism in the United States. Right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, if I smuggle him into the United States, or whether of course I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
You can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? And that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal,
Yeah,
into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Mark, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
Online commentators reveled in Collins' takedown, with this person saying, the only problem here is that a few more admin members didn't get their turn to rip this hack. And other commentators went as far as to say Kaitlan Collins should have her White House press secretary pass revoked. This person said, should the White House revoke CNN propagandist Kaitlan Collins' press pass, her rude behavior should not be rewarded. President Bukele and Donald Trump had
where the hell are we in history? In the history of this country, to where like we can't ask a fucking question to the goddamn president. Like she asked a question. She asked a question. Like what was wrong with the question? Like she asked him a question. Like I don't know, man. I'm tired.
Very cordial and productive meeting in the Oval Office, even after Kaitlan Collins' question that derailed the conversation for a while. Bukele went on to give Trump some words of wisdom about cleaning up criminals, saying you need to imprison criminals in order to liberate the innocent people, which Trump loved.
We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, terrorism problem they need help with. And we're a small country, but we can help and do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was what I was called, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Washington industry. And, you know, sometimes they say that we imprison thousands. I have to say that we actually liberated millions. So, you know, like, it's very good.
Who gave them that line? Do you think I can use that?
President Bukele then went further, congratulating Trump and his administration for closing the borders. But he couldn't help but take a dig at the mainstream media, which Trump welcomed.
What they've done to us at the border.
Not gonna lie, he did a good job. Like President of El Salvador did a good job of fixing El Salvador, though. Period. So he probably would be a good person to take advice from when it comes to how to, you know, fix a problem, a criminal problem.
It should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin what they did, and you are helping us out, and we appreciate it.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, what, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, you know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
And after the meeting, Trump's top advisor, Stephen Miller, was not done rebuking Kaitlan Collins' claims, doubling down on Fox News to debunk the mainstream media claim that the terrorist was erroneously deported.
Correct. I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case. Clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping. That we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention. And then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay, I appreciate
he was not, no, Bill's important.
Interesting. All that was extremely interesting. But, yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the truth, then if the Supreme Court ruled, I don't know, I heard differently, but it goes back and forth each time. But anyways, I don't give a fuck. I'm out, y'all.